having a little snooze. I'm having a little snooze. What are you saying? Hmm? It feels like these days we are all trying to find a balance when it comes to our screens. Although there are so many upsides of the internet age, we're all too familiar with the downsides of too much screen time, especially when it comes to the potential toxicity of social media. I've been living without social media for almost 3 years now. This doesn't come without its challenges, not least that my full-time income comes from sharing my life online, but I can honestly say that this is one of the best decisions I've ever made. Life without social media means I can lean into a slower pace and fill my life with hobbies that I find far more fulfilling than mindless scrolling, including reading, walking in nature, spending time in my tiny kitchen, and more recently, artistic hobbies like junk journaling that provides a creative outlet outside of my work. This doesn't mean I live a totally offline life. Instead, I focus on using long-form, high-value platforms like YouTube and Substack that inspire me without leaving me feel drained and disillusioned. We all have our own journey when it comes to navigating the digital age, and I can only comment on my own experience. But it's worth taking time to pause now and again to reflect on whether you are happy with where your path is taking you, or whether, perhaps, it's time for a change. I was creating a Substack post this morning around a new feature that I'm trialling in creating for my Substack members in terms of where I can share what I'm making every month, because my kind of creative hobbies have really seemed to grow and stick this year. It's something that if you follow me for a while, you'll know that it's always something I really wanted to do, you know, having like creative hobbies that I just do in my own time, not related to work, but really struggled to stick to it for a variety of reasons, probably reasons a lot of you can relate to, you know, feeling a bit like it has to be perfect, maybe struggling to prioritise the time, that kind of thing. But for like a variety of reasons, this year things seem to be clicking a little bit easier, and I've shared on my Substack both like my free content and my paid content all about this. So I've shared like how I make creativity a daily habit. I did a video for my members where I did a junk journal spread and showed them how I did that. So I'll link my Substack below in case you want to learn more about this. But I thought it would be relevant to share today because this is a great way of reducing my screen time and doing something with my hands. I think that's really quite powerful. So I thought I would share just some of my materials that I gravitate to, but I should caveat that like you can really start very, very basic. You know, if you just want to do something creative in your day, you can start with things like colouring. I haven't actually included my colouring book, but I do have a colouring book, or doodling, or anything. This is just what I have sort of grown in terms of materials over the last year or so. But yeah, I thought I would just give you a bit of a whiz through. So I'll start with the main journals or notebooks, sketchbooks, whatever you want to call them, that I'm using at the moment. So I've had this one for a couple of years now. This is where I started when I wanted to do more journaling, because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do at first. I thought maybe bullet journaling, but I do all my planning in Notion and it just works for me, so there was kind of no point in me starting a bullet journal, but I like the idea of doing the creative spreads. So this is nice to look back to where I started on this, but I primarily use this now to do my seasonal bucket lists spreads, where I do like a collage that's related to the season and then I write bucket lists, and I've been doing this for about a year. I think I started last summer. So yeah, there's my spring one, so I can go back and like tick things off. So this is a nice size, it's just dotted paper, A4 size, gives me plenty of space. And I've got other things in here, like I've got like if I travel, if I go somewhere, I like to do like a collage, like a memory collage and things. So it's just basically gives me a bit more space if I want to do bigger spreads, but I use it probably less often now because I tend to use, for my kind of junk journaling, art journaling, I don't bother like labelling things. This is just what I like to create. I mostly use this, which I have shown on this channel before. My mum made me this. I think maybe she gave it to my birthday in November last year, I can't remember. But I've been really enjoying this like square format, this kind of size. She sells these on her Etsy store, or similar ones. They're all handmade, so the designs are always different. So I'll link that below in case you guys are interested in checking them out. But this is where I do like all my kind of junk journaling, art journaling, and like I say, on my Substack I go through a bit more my process, and that's something I'll be sharing a bit more over there every month. And it's all sorts, like there's all sorts in here. There's no like rhyme or rhythm, but it's just a really nice size. So I think I might do a roundup on my Substack of this journal once. I'm hoping to finish it this year, and I can maybe do a flick through because I think that'd be quite fun. But I think this is a nice size. If you're feeling a bit intimidated, I would say a smaller size does tend to work better for me anyway. Makes it seem more achievable. And then I just have this sketchbook. So this is, I actually decorated the front because why not? This is to encourage me to do stuff that's not just collages. This is somewhere I can do sketches. This is somewhere I can mostly do doodles, to be honest. Like I did, where is it? These blob monsters. Watched a Skillshare class that I on drawing, and this was one of the exercises to like do blobs and then create little monsters out of them. So it's really like quite silly, and like where I practice a few things, like sketch things out, like really just sort of doodly. But it's nice to have this option basically to practice a little bit of drawing. And then in terms of my other materials, one of the main things I like to do is collaging. So I have like a collection of different papers, and this comes from all sorts of places. This is what I really like about junk journaling, is it is very budget friendly and sustainable way of creating art. So for instance, in here I've got quite a lot of wrapping paper. So either people that have gifted me stuff, I always keep the wrapping paper if it's nice, or when I've got leftover bits of wrapping paper that aren't very useful to wrap presents, that's actually a big part of my journaling practice is using wrapping paper or any nice packaging that you get. And I've got other sorts of things in here, postcards, cards, things like that I cut up. My mum's a great source of giving me things. Like she collects like old book pages from books that are damaged, and like old music. And what else have I got in here? That's kind of the bulk, and then it's just random bits and pieces. Like I've got, this was from a tea, Pucker tea that I really liked the design of. Yeah, so, and then like a chocolate bar wrapper. It's all sorts. I do try and keep it under control, and because I do have limited storage space, I think things like this can get a bit out of control and feel a bit intimidating. So I try and contain it all within this box. I have a couple of envelopes with smaller things, like more sticker size, just to keep them separate. But once in a while I'll go through this, and if there's stuff in here that I've just not used for quite a long time and feel like I might not be using, I'll then recycle it, so it's not wasted. And then in terms of other materials I use, I have a little bit of a mix. So I have colouring pencils. I have felt tip pens as well, but I am more of a colouring pencil person. I just prefer the vibe, or the kind of, what would I call that? Aesthetic of colouring pencils over felt tips. So I just have, you know, this, I don't even think I bought this. I think I found this in my partner's mum's house and she didn't want them. So I was like, oh, well, I'll have them. So they're kind of my go-to with a lot of times. If like, for instance, if I have a blank page in my journal and I'm not sure where to start, a lot of the time I start with collage papers, but a lot of the time I will just scribble a background, so you can't really see because I've gone over it. Like this had some just colouring pencils scribbled on the back, and I do the same with paint as well. Like this is the spread I did at the weekend, so I just did an orange painted background. And in terms of paints I use, I have two. I have a small travel size pack of watercolours from Winsor & Newton. So I use these in my journals, but I also use these if I want to, or I can't open this because I'll go everywhere, to just watercolour painting, which I have different journals for, and I do that less often, but I like to have these available. And then I also just have a very, very budget friendly acrylics. I think this works quite nicely, gives a nice pop of colour in my art journal, junk journal. I think I got this for like under £5 in the range, like I didn't have to spend very much money. And then the rest is just like decorative bits and pieces. So I have a couple of sets of stamps. I got these quite recently actually in Hobbycraft, so I think they're their countryside stamps. So just like a nice selection, different naturey bits that I can put over the top. And then I have my alphabet stamps. I think I got this one off Etsy when I started because I knew I'd want to include writing. So it's just like, obviously, letters in there, and then just like a little mini ink thing for that. And then this box has my kind of pens, washi tape, Pritt stick, little scissors, like bits and pieces to create with. Washi tape is definitely like one of my favourite things to journal with. I don't think I've ever created a journal page and not used washi tape. I'm trying to find my favourites to show you. I love them all, but these are some of my favourites. I think I got all of these off Etsy. I got this mushroom. I'll link anything that I can below. This mushroom one, and then I got this. Well, I don't think they sell this one actually anymore. I did look for a different reason. And then I got this pine tree one. So basically the kind of things I like to create, I try to find washi tapes to fit that vibe. And then, like I said, I've got felt tip pens in here, but what I really like, two separate things. So I've got like fine liner pens. You can like go around things on your journal pages if you want to pick out some more details. And then I've got a set of 3 jelly roll pens. These are really fun. These are really fun to work with. They're just, again, easy to just go over the top of things. And I've got one in black, one in white, and one in silver. Yeah, you certainly don't need that level of materials if you're just starting out, but I thought it might give you a little bit of inspiration of ideas of where you can start if you would like to use kind of creative hobbies as a way of, you know, getting a bit more time away from your phone or your screen.